Hey, Shalom Aleichem. Welcome everyone, as we are continuing in the seventh parak of Masechet Sanhedrin, in the parak of Arba Mitot. And last week we were discussing Shoal Ov the Yedoni, the Ov, the one who speaks through the dead through his armpit, and the Yedoni who takes the Yedua bone and puts it in his mouth, and the bone starts to talk. So this week's Gemara continues with other sorts of magical sorcery type of acts, and whether they're permissible, superstitions, and those like that. So we're on 65B3. Shoel Ov Hainu Vidorish Elametim. On 65B3, on Samachay Amid Bet, you're right across the Tosafot Ma'aleh B'Schurom. Okay, so starts the Gemara. There is a pasuk. Let's take a look at this pasuk. Torah or Hashalem. This is pasuk. This is a pasuk here. V'chover chever, pasuk Gimel in Torah Shalom. V'chover chever, v'shoel over Yedoni, v'dorish el hametim. So v'shoel over Yedoni. We know what over Yedoni is talking through the dead. What does it mean v'dorish el hametim? And he's darshan. He's darshaning the dead. What does that mean? Isn't it the same thing? Shoel ov hayin dorish lametim. So why does the pasuk say it twice? So Moran says dorish lametim k'detanya. Dorish lametim, seeking out the dead, is a different procedure. And something that the Baraita talks about. What is this? Dorish lametim zeh hamara'iv asmo v'holech v'lam bevet hakvarot. This is somebody who starves himself. And he goes into a cemetery and he wants the Ruach HaTumah to come into him, that the spirit of impurity should come into him. And this way answers his questions and about the future, about what to plant, what to make parnasah in, and stuff like that. Now, and that is an isur, and if a person does that, it's an isur lav. So it's not skila, he gets prohibition and he gets makot, and it's forbidden. And Rabbi Akiva would get to this pasuk v'doresh el hametim. Haya bocheh. Rabbi Akiva would cry, and he would say, "Umah hamar asmo kadesh tisha alav ruach tuma shora alav ruach tuma." The person would starve himself, and he would go and hang out on the bet hakvurot in the cemetery, and he wanted ruach tuma to come to him. And the ruach tuma came up to him. Hamar asmo kadesh tisha alav ruach tahara. Then someone who fasts and he wants the ruach tahara, he wants the spirit of purity, he wants ruach hakodesh, he wants nevuah. Alachad kama v'kama. How much more so? How much more so should he be zochet to get this ruach tahara come into him? Alamaya said, what can be done? Rabbi Akiva was crying that he's been trying to get this ruach tahara and it's not working. Shavanotenu garmulanu. Because of our sins, the Jewish people sins, we lack success of reestablishing nevuah that has been taken away from the Jewish people. Shneimar ki'im avonotechem, because of your sins, hayu mavdilim benechem leven Elohechem. They would separate you from Hashem. So the only thing that's separating us from Hashem, to getting the ruach tahara, getting that source of nevuah, is our sins. Now, in another reading, Amar Rava says, hold on, this pasuk is telling me something else. This pasuk is telling me that tzaddikim are like Hashem. Im boye tzaddike varu alma. If they were tzaddikim, they could create worlds. If they would create worlds, just like Hashem is able to create worlds. How do we know this? Because it says, Ki im avonotechem hayu mavdilim. It's only because of our sins that we are separated from God. Meaning, if it wasn't for the sins, so a tzaddik would be not separated from God, meaning he would be equal to God, and he would be able to create creations. And the Gemara tells us it's true. Rava bara gavra. Rava created a person, right? What we would call in rabbinic language a golem. He would create a golem. You've all heard the story of the golem of Prague, right? So, but Rava was able to create a golem. So Shadda the committed Bizera, and he sent this golem, this body that he created, person, Havakam Mishtay Bahadem. And Rav Zera saw this person. He started talking to him. And this created person that Rava created was not able to talk. So Amar Le, Rav Zera said to him, Min Chavreat. You must be the creation of Rava, my colleague. Hadal Afrech. Return to your dust. And he went back to being dust. Now, the interesting to note, the Mishnah Brura has a question about this golem. Let's say, he says, you don't have a minyan, you only have 9 people. And someone there is well-versed in the Sefer Yetzirah, and he makes a person. And now you have this person here. Can he be part of a 10th minyan? Says the Mishnah Brura in Orchaim Nun Hey Daled. Adam hanoitza yidei Sefer Yetzirah. If someone is made through a Sefer Yetzirah, does he count for the 10th? Can he be answering all the Darvish of Kedusha that you need a 10th person for? Is it? And he brings down the different sides, and he's Mesupik. He doesn't know. All right, he leaves this sort of as just has a discussion. He doesn't really say the answer. Chazonish says a little different. A person who's created through Sefer Yitzirah, he's not a real person. Near the Ein Lo, he calls Chiyot Yisrael. He doesn't have any rights of a Jew. The Karav, and it's very possible, She'ein Lo Gam Chiyos Adam. He's not considered a person at all. Okay, so that's interesting. A golem is not counted for a minyan according to Chazon Ish. Seems the Mishnah Brewer probably agreed to that. Now we have to also make one step over here, is that we know that sorcery is forbidden, magic, but we have to make a big distinction between Sefer Yetzirah and magic. Sefer Yetzirah is not considered magic. Is not considered magic. Okay, that is a permissible form. Obviously, you have to be in a certain degree, right? Like it says in the pasuk, and in the Gemara here, you have to have be with no sins. You have to be a certain individual, like Avram Avinu, right? But it's not considered magic. Only question is that what you created is considered that, or is it considered something else? Okay. I just wanted to see if there was something else I wanted to mention. Okay, fine. We'll get into this in a minute. All right. Here, even it's such a holy book, Sefer Yetzirah is a manner of sanctity to perform miraculous action is not considered sorcery according to halacha. Some authorities maintain, though, that it's inappropriate to do so unless it is to rescue individuals in danger, sanctifying Hashem's name, or performing a major mitzvah. So that's the Shach. In Yeridea, the Shach says that Sefer Yetzirah is not considered magic. It's permissible to use by the great people, and it's only to be used in certain cases and not in every, not just because you, just like that. All right, continues the Gemara. Gemara says, Rechir would sit together every Erev Shabbat, the Askeh b'Sefer Yetzirah, and they would delve into the book of creation, the Sefer Yetzirah, umibiru lehu iglat tilta, and they were able to create a calf 1/3 of its maturity, either it's a third from its mother or it's a third of its age, a very tasty calf, va'achlale, and then they would eat it on Shabbat. And we already had this discussion. We mentioned it briefly just before. Is this calf considered real basar? Is it really meat? Is it parve meat? Is it artificial meat? What would its status be? But here you see there were great tzaddikim that were able to use a Sefer Yetzirah, and they were able to create people, they were able to create animals, and stuff like that. Okay. Tanu Rabbanan. Now we're going to go in to the thing called Me'onen. So we talked Doresh Metim, we talked. That means the guy who wants the Ruach Tumah to come into him in order to understand the future. Now we're going to have a Me'onen. The Pasuk says, you should not be a Me'onen. You're not allowed to be me'onen. So what is this me'onen? So says Tanobanan me'onen, the Shimon Omer. It comes to the lashon of eye from ayin. Zehama avir shiva minei zechur al ha'ayin. In order to perform magic, this guy passes 7 kinds of male seed. Right, so the male seed, he passes 7 types over his eyes in order to perform magic. Rashi, you see from 7 different creatures, passes it over his eyes, and thereby performs magic. Note 46 in the art scroll. Chachamim say, you want to know what it means to be me'onen? Zeh ha'ochez et ha'inayim. This is the one who creates illusions. Says the Chachamim that it's forbidden to create illusions, to be a deceiver, to be a trickster, to be a magician, to be an illusionist. It is asur. Zeh ha'ochez et ha'inayim. Rabbi Akiva Omer, Rabbi Akiva says, okay, let's stop for a second. Zeh ha'ochez et ha'inayim, and it's brought down in the Rambam as well. It is forbidden to perform tricks that make it appear as though he is performing sorcery. This is from the Rambam. The Rambam says you're not allowed to perform magic shows. So how do we have magic shows today? And not only that, we invite them, weddings, bar mitzvahs, Hanukkah, Purim, and we have magic shows and we advertise them. And the Gemara says it very clearly. And that's what the Rambam says. One of the sees the eyes. Not only is the Oster, the guy who does it gets makot. So every magician should get makot. So what is going on? So we have to first take a look at the different opinions over here of how we understand this. Okay, says the Shulchan Aruch. Shulchan Aruch in Yerdea 179. That's where the magic simanim is, right? 179. Ochas edenaim aser. Why they say for Yitzira mutter? Okay, it's from Sefer Yitzira. You already know it's mutter. If it's ochas edenaim, just tricks, it's asur. And the Shach says, and look at the Rambam. The Rambam says even if you're not really doing magic, or you're just doing illusions, that is the answer, and it's forbidden. Sleight of hand, says the Chachmas Adam. He says, I don't know what they're doing at weddings, but they have something in Yiddish called Taschenspielers. Spieler means always players, right? Actor, performer. Taschen means pockets. They do all sorts of magic with their pockets. And the Chachmas Adam says you have to stop them at the weddings. They can't do it. It's usher. Chachmas Adam does give an eitzah and says it looks like, but for a guy it might be mutter. Says the Shevet HaLevi. So this is the posting from nowadays. Shmuel Vosner and Shevet HaLevi says usher. You're not allowed to do magic. Says the Yechaveh Da'at. Says that's a Chacham Ovadia. Chacham Ovadia was asked, is it permissible to invite a magician to a party, to a wedding, to a Hanukkah, Purim? And he writes, you're not allowed to be matir and Isser just because it's Purim, or you want to make a happy chasam kala, you cannot do an Isser. You're not allowed to do magic shows. Says Chavadia, like the Chachmas Adam, that looks like it's only if it's a Jew, and if it's a guy performing the magic show, it is permissible. Okay, so comes out, according to Chavadia, deception, tricksters, illusions, magic shows is usher, and a Jew is not allowed to perform it. Guy performs it, it's a different story. Chachmas Adam, it's allowed. And the answer is on the Jew to not to do that. There is another famous eitzah that people use, another loophole that people use. Says Rabbi Yekutiel Yehuda Halberstam in his Divrei Yitziv, the Kleisenberger Rebbe. He writes that you may be lenient if the magician explains that he performs his tricks using sleight of hand, and the audience understands that he's not doing anything real, and he's not doing anything forbidden. And he's not really deceiving them because he already told them that it's just tricks. It's not like he's performing illusions. He's telling them what it is. The Igros Moshe Feinstein also held of that. And he said, and they say to the crowd, we're just doing it in a natural manner. Everybody knows he's not really doing any real tricks. He's not really, he's not performing any magic. He's just playing around, entertainment, so to speak. Ain't right possession isser. There's no real isser here. But says Rav Moshe, even so, if someone would ask me, I would not permit it because there are many great tzaddikim that did not permit for Jews to do it. So I would refrain from ruling out of respect for those opinions that say it is forbidden. So today, when we have a Jewish performance, they're really holding this Igros Moshe and this Divrei Yotziv. That say that we're doing sleight of hand, and he explains it. I remember as a child, I was once at a magic show in a shul, and there was a Hanukkah. And the Rav of the shul went to the magician before the start of the magic show, and he said, "Can you show the crowd one of your tricks, and how do you do it?" So this way, everybody would know you're not really doing any powers, and it's just entertainment. You're just, moving your hands fast. The Rambam says that's still the answer, but whatever. So they're using this Igros Moshe and Divrei Yotzev. The magician did that, and everybody saw, and then they continued the rest of the show. And that's really the way out. So the best would be. So it seems the Rambam would agree that if it's a guy, there wouldn't be any problem, and that's what Chamavadia says as well, and that's the Shevet Levi, and that's the Chacham Sadam, and many poskim. The Kleisenberg Rebbe and Moshe Feinstein held that if it's a Jew and he says that it's not really illusions, and people hear that, and people believe that, then it wouldn't be Easter also. But again, that's a cooler that Moshe himself wouldn't really want to hold of. But I guess if it needs to be, and the kids need to have the Jewish magician or whatever it is, you can't find any non-Jew who's not an anti-Semite or whatever. So then maybe you can rely on this. Okay, fine. That's on magic shows. Now we're going to come into another topic. According to the Rabbi Akiva Omer, what is me'onen? Zeh ha'machshev itim v'sha'ot. This is a reference to one who calculates times and hours. This is a guy who's very into his astrology. But Omer, and he says, Hayom yofelet, today's a good day to go out on a trip. L'mochar yofel likach. Tomorrow is a good day to go buy things. Limudei arvei shvi'it chitin yafot. You should, a certain year is going to be better wheat. Ikurei kitniot mihiyot ra'ot. If you uproot legumes, it makes them not get spoiled. And he's using superstitions and astrology, and that's someone who is me'onen. He's trying to see the future, predict the future based on astrology and other things like that. So that is what's considered me'onen, and that is asur. So here it says the Rambam in his Lashon, one who determines what times are suspicious for specific activities by means of astrology and the like is doomed a soothsayer. He's deemed a soothsayer, me'onen. Anyone who practices the rites of soothsayer, who regulates his behavior according to predictions of a soothsayer, receives lashes. So the Rambam holds like Rabbi Akiva and the Chachamim, saying they both agree that me'onen could be both tricking, illusions, and someone who goes by these times, and it's usher, and it's an isser to today. And the person does it, it's a lav. You get my code for it. If he goes based on times, thinking that the astrology and the horoscopes and stuff like that. Now, someone on Shabbos asked, what about the meteorologists, right? The weatherman, isn't that being me'onen, looking into the future, trying to figure out the weather? And I don't think it is. If I remember correctly, meteorologist is not basing it on astrology and signs of the horoscopes and stuff like that. Rather, studying science and realizing the natural way of the world, of what brings rain and what doesn't, and how these things work. It's not being me'onen. Me'onen is really when it's a superstitious thing, based on horoscopes and stuff like that. Right? There's no real science to it. Maybe there was, still isn't. Okay. Now we go into another one. These two are related, and we'll go into the halacha of this in a few minutes. Tanu Rabbanon, Menachesh, a person who is Menachesh. Yosef Atzadik called himself a Menachesh in the Torah, right? He was, when his brothers came, they didn't know it was him. He pretended he had this cup, and he kept saying, oh, you're the oldest, you're the youngest, you're the this, you sleep there, you do that. He was Menachesh, he was divining things. Who is this? Zeha Omer, Piton Nafla Mipi. Oh, it's the guy who says your bread fell from your mouth. That means today it's going to be a bad day. Makol Nafla Miyado. Oh, your staff fell from your hand. Oh, yeah, you're going to lose a lot of money or something like that. V'no Korol Me'acharav, your son calls you from behind. Terrible. Orev Korelo, a raven calls you. Oh, yeah, it can be the end of you. See if Sikol Baderech, a deer crossed his path, like a black cat crossed your path. Nahash Mimino, a snake approached you on the right. Shu'al Mishmalo, a fox approached you on your left. And he has for everyone, he has a certain thing that's going to happen to him. Right? He believes that it's bad acts.
Is it superstition? It's more than that.
Superstitions. Right? For example, look further. And this one you probably heard people say this. Al tatchil bi. He says, don't start with me, meaning, let's say they're collecting tzedakah, they're collecting taxes. He says, I don't want to be the first one. I don't want to be the first one. I don't want that I should be the first one. He says, shacharitu. It's the morning. I can't be giving away my money first thing in the morning. I got to be taking in money. People say that till today. People say, Rosh Chodeshu, it's the start of the month. I can't be paying my bill. Right? It's a bad thing. Motzei Shabbat, it's only Motzei Shabbat. I can't start my week off by paying bills or giving tzedakah or losing money. I got to be gaining money. All this is an isser. All this is asur. And further, Tanu Rabbana, lo tenachashu v'lo ta'onenu, kegon elam nachshim b'chulda b'ofot uvdagim. This is those who look at animals and how they move, and based on that, they make predictions. Right? Weasels, birds, or fish. Today they have it. Here in America and other places, they do what's called Groundhog Day, right? They have the groundhog coming out of the ground. They watch how he comes out, and they say, oh, the winter's going to be like that. The winter's going to be like this. All that is called being minahesh, and all of it is asur. All of it's asur. You're not allowed to believe in superstitions, right? This would include opening the umbrella in the house. You've heard people say, you open the umbrella in the house, and it's going to rain on your wedding. Or people say you break a marriage, you're going to have 7 years of bad luck. Or the number 13 is bad luck, right, they say. Or stepping over someone, he's not going to be able to grow anymore. Right? Another superstition. Or people used to do back in the day. I remember the old grandmothers, all the BBs, they would make ispandud, Motzei Shabbat, take out the ruach raws and stuff like that. It's very likely it's going to be an isser. Chile waiting 40 days based on superstitions, and if you come together, it's not going to be good. Again, another superstition. So all of these are really usser. You're not allowed to believe in these superstitions. Now, how far is it? Meaning, am I not allowed to believe in them or act on them? Or can I act in them and just not really believe in them? Right? Meaning, can I say I don't believe it, but I still want to take protection against it? Can a person do that? So this is actually the machloket, if a person can do that or not. Shulchan Aruch says, ha'omer, a person who says, Petin nifla mifi, my bread fell from my mouth. Oy, oy, oy. Omakli miodi. All these things that we just said. A person says it, it's aser, right? Makas, you're going to get makot, right? All these things are aser. So based on this, there are those who want to say, I'll read you the lashon over here. Because of the Shiltei Giborim, b'shem hariaz, shekola iser nemer rak im moitzi et levar mipiv. The whole iser, if you say it from your mouth, of them rak machshav beliboy, benemno me'eskov machmas nechoshim elu. But if he only thinks about it and he prevents it, he doesn't do it, but he doesn't talk about it, hareze mutar, then it's going to be mutar. But he brings some pitchei tshuva, and he brings some tosfot, They say no. It's even aser b'machshava. So you're going to come out in the end of the day. There's going to be a machloket if you can Bilidina for our halacha. Katav is hasnei chamid b'shem echa migdali daro she'ein l'chalik b'zeh. V'afilu al pi machshavas levad bli amir asur l'nachash. Says the stei chamid, right? What stei chamid is what 100 and something years ago, and he says you're not allowed to believe it at all, not in the mind and not in the doing, and not in the saying and nothing. But there are those who say if you just act on it without talking about it, that perhaps might be mutar. Right? So I believe our Gemara also says Ha'omer, the guy who says it, right? Ha'omer, right? Ha'omer Hayoim Yofa, right? So that's the Shulchan Aruch gets Ha'omer. So perhaps it's Ha'omer, the Shutta Gebarim, the Riyaz, who say like that. But definitely it's something that we got to be careful of. I've heard people say this. I've heard people say, "Oh, I can't do this in the morning. I can't give a donation in the morning. I gotta bring in money first before I can start giving out."
Very,
Definitely.
very prominent.
Say again.
Very prominent in the community.
Right, and that is an isser. It's a very big isser. It's being me'onen. It's being menachesh. You're not allowed to do that. If they want to believe in it without saying it, it's a different story. Perhaps you can get away with that. There are those who say that's okay. But saying it is for sure an isser. It's a beferish Shulchan Aruch. 179.3 Shulchan Aruch Yoreh Deah 179.3. You can take a look. It's beferush, right? It's our Gemara here. There's no getting around with it. I know they say Motzei Shabbat. They say also many people say it. I've heard them say it. It's a big problem. Big problem. We
No.
have to work.
Yeah.
We have to be medua. People have to come to know that it's sister. Now, on the other hand, we're going to have another issue because didn't Eliezer, when Eliezer went to get a shidduch for Yitzchak, didn't he say, "I'm looking for a sign"? He was being me'onen. He was looking for a sign. He's being menachesh. He said, she's gonna give me to drink, and she's gonna give my camels to drink. I'll know it's her, right? So Eliezer's being me'onen. So here in the halachas they say, it depends. You have to see how they do it.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
That superstition could be individualized, or it must be prominent for the majority of the people, or like acceptable by the community to some degree.
I don't think it has to be something that's accepted. I think any superstition that he believes in.
So it could be just individualized for yourself.
Yeah. It would all be usher because it's we have to be, the pasuk is you have to be tamim im Hashem l'kecha. You have to be with Hashem, right? And we say there's a pasuk that says kiloi nachash v'Yaakov. There are none of us who predict by omens in Klal Yisrael, but like Kesem Yisrael, and there are no diviners in Israel. We're not supposed to believe that. It's a pasuk in Bamidbar, right? And in the parshas of Bilam and Balak. So how did Eliezer do this? So Tosafot says Eliezer wasn't me'onein. Eliezer, he davened, and then he even asked Rivka, even after all the signs have happened, then he asked Rivka, "Whose daughter are you?" And then he found that it was the right one. The Ran says, well, Eliezer, he did a logical thing. He wasn't just believing in superstitions. He said, well, who would be Avram Avinu's relative? Someone who does chesed. Okay, the girl does a lot of chesed. I'll know she's Avram Avinu's. So he wasn't me'onen. He was using logic to, he was deductive, being a detective. He was using deductive reasoning to figure out who was a relative of Avram. The Torah Tamima says using signs and omens is only forbidden if a person doesn't say that it comes from Hashem. So since Eliezer was davening and he said Hashem, right, the God of my master should help me, it becomes permissible. And by the way, that's what we do in Rosh Hashanah. Right, Rosh Hashanah we use simanim. We have all the seder, we have all these things. What? We're being menachesh. You're being menachesh. You're saying, oh, because I'm eating a pomegranate, it's going to be a year full of mitzvos. It's going to be eating the head of the sheep. I'm going to be the head of the whole year. What are you doing? You're divining. You're being magical. So based on this, they say that's not true because we're not eating the fruit. And the truth is, you don't even have to eat it, right? Okay, look at it. But what do we do every time before we look at it or eat it? We say, we say Hashem. We're davening to Hashem, and then to add a siman, we eat the food or look at the food, whatever it is. But the truth is, it's a prayer. And that would be permissible. And that's the Torah Tzmima. Interesting to note that the Alka Joseph says, and it's based in our Gemara as well, called Dover Shu Simon Tov, Aim B'zeh Ister Mishum Nichush. If it's a Simon Tov, meaning that it's something that's good, then there is no problem of magic over here, of divining and superstition. If it's a good thing, then it's not superstitious. That's what people keep. It's a good thing based on the Torah. He wants to say. For example, he says people want to do a wedding on Tuesday because it says in the Torah on Tuesday it says Kitov twice. So that's the day I want to make the wedding. It's not considered magic. It's not considered divining. Here, many yeshivas want to start the first day on Rosh Chodesh to begin on Rosh Chodesh, so the whole month goes well, right? Ein lachush b'zeh mishum nichush is no nichush sheyesh b'zeh siman tov. So somehow, when it comes to siman tov, right? So too, Shulchan Aruch says in your day 179.4, person was able to buy a house, or he had a child, or he got married, and he can consider it a good sign, and he can try to do something else that would work out. I bought a house, and now maybe I should buy a car, maybe I should buy a business and stuff like that. It's working out for you. It's a good mazal right now, so get it all on. You're not being menachesh, rather you're using a simon tov, and that seems to be no problem. Okay.
But where's the red line? I'm trying to figure out, because people throw money into the fountain behind the back or something. It's a good luck or something like that. So if it is good luck, do you?
It seems it has to be Torah sourced.
Okay, that's what I was about to go.
Right. It has to be Torah sourced. If it's Torah sourced and it's a Simon Tov, then fine. Then we're all good. Right? The whole thing in Rosh Hashanah, everything is based on the word and the pasuk and the Torah, or something like that. We eat the Simonim. But just random superstitions, even if they're good, I would say they would still be also. They have to have some sort of shorish in the Torah, and it's a Simon Tov. Now, whether you could believe in bad superstitions, perhaps you can definitely not say it. Perhaps you could believe it and take, maybe not believe it or say it, but rather take precautions against it. Like they say, if a person hears Lashon Hara that someone's trying to attack him, he shouldn't believe the Lashon Hara, but he should take precaution that he doesn't get attacked. Right? That was from Gedalia, right? Gedalio, the governor of Eretz Yisrael after the destruction, right? He didn't believe it, and he didn't take precaution. That was his problem. He shouldn't have believed it, but he shouldn't take precaution. So perhaps if you are a superstitious fellow, can't say it, you can't believe it, but maybe you can take a little precautions against it. All right, that's what we came out today. Very important halachas, interesting halachas that come out from these couple of lines here in the Gemara. Okay, now we have more Gemara to learn. Okay, so let's move along. You ready? We're more than half the time. Okay, so we have to do this little quicker. Okay. Someone who is Mechalel Shabbat Chas Shalom, he gets skila when v'davar shechayvin al zedano karet. If he did it without witnesses, he would get karet. If it's an aver, then he would get karet. And if he did it b'shkaga, he did it by mistake, he would have to bring the chatas. Then, if he did it on purpose, and he had witnesses, and they warned him and everything, he would get skila. So the Gemara says, from the fact you're telling me that if he does a sin that gets karet or he brings a chatan, there must be something that you can mechalel Shabbat and you don't get karet and you don't bring a chatan and you don't get skila. Which one is this? Meklad yikamidi dechilul Shabbos havi, ve'ein chayavin loy ashki gasoy chatas l'az is an ikaris, which is the sin that you could sin on Shabbat in Isser and you don't get karet, you don't bring a chatan. Mahi, which avera is this? So the Gemara says tichumin, right? Not tichumi Shabbat, not the eggs of Shabbat, rather tichumin Shabbat, which is the boundaries of Shabbat. But leave the Rabbi Akiva. According to Rabbi Akiva, the holes might be Rabbanon, and therefore there's no karet and there's no chatat on it. According to Rabbi Akiva, what is tichumin Shabbat? The Kitzer will explain it very quick. Through the Masechtas Eruvin, and what it's about is you're not allowed to walk out of your limit, out of your residency, 2,000 amos. Right. So in a city, it's after the last house in the city. You're not allowed to walk another 2,000 amos. After the 2,000 amos, you're not allowed to walk. You have to stop and that's it. You can go up to 2,000 amos. So if a person was over that, right, and the whole din of Erev Tanchumen is that you can move your residency, right? Let's say you had to walk 3,000 amos past your house. So you can go Erev Shabbat, put food further than the last house, and say, really, this is where I am on Shabbat. I'm going to be over here. And even though you're going to be in your house, but you're saying you're there, and then you have an extension of so many amot in the other direction, so you're able to walk more, right? That's every techumen, and sechus erevin. Kiva says if a person was over that, he would not get karet, and he would not get bring a chatat, and he would not get skila. And the other one is havara of valib Rabbi Yosi. According to Rabbi Yosi, fire. Right? We saw this Gemara a couple of days ago, where we said it says don't do any malachos, and then it says don't do fire. Why did it say don't do fire separately? So Rabbi Yosi held the reason it said don't do fire separately to tell you that even though every malacha is skila, fire there's no skila. So he would say no karis and no chatas. It's just a lab. Alma, just get makos, nothing else. Okay. Now we come into our next Mishnah. A person cursed his father or his mother. He's not chayiv until he curses them with the name of Hashem. He has to use Hashem's name to curse them. Right? Just I'm saying a curse him, he's not chayiv skila. It's usher still, but he's not chayiv skila. And name of Hashem meaning good kevav ke alaf dal nun yud. If he cursed them with the other names of Hashem, Shakai, Tzivakot, and names like that, Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Meir says he's still chayiv, skila. Chacham say no, only if he uses the actual name of Hashem. Now, man Chachamim, who is this Chachamim? Rabbi Menachem, Rabbi Yosi, who? It's a Menachem, Rabbi Yosi. Rabbi Menachem, Rabbi Yosi, Omer, the time Rabbi Menachem, Yosi says, how do I know you have to use actual Shem Hashem? Because there's a pasuk that says, "V'nok b'Shem you must." Okay, let's take a look at this full pasuk. Look at Torah or Shalom. Or you can take a look at note 12. Okay, it says there. Look at the Hebrew part. But no kev Shem Hashem. Talk about a person who actually curses God, meaning it's megade. He's a blasphemer. No kev Shem Hashem. Person who curses God, mot yumat. He's killed. Ragom yurgemubo. Everybody stones him. Kol ha'eda, the whole nation. Kagir ke'ezrach, the ger and the citizen. Binokvo Shem yumat. When he curses the name, he dies. So Rabbi Meir is saying, why does he have to say Binokvo Shem the second time? You already told me. The guy who curses Hashem is killed by stoning. Why does it say Binokvo Shem yumat? Ma'atam elomer Shem. Why does it say Shem a second time? Limed al miklal avivi imo. Since it's not needed for that pasuk, we're going to learn it about cursing a father and mother. Sheinu chayev ad shi kalem b'shem. He's not chayev until he is cursed with the name of Hashem. That's where he learns it from. Binokvo Shem. That's why he says he needs to have a shame, and that's to be the actual shame of Hashem. Al Tal Nun Yud or Yud Vav K. Okay. Tana Rabbanon. Rabbi's taught in the Braita. It says in the pasuk. You can take a look at the pasuk in note 15. Ki ish asher yikalas aviv es imoy. Man who curses his father and his mother. Mot yumat aviv imo kalel damav. He curses for parents and his blood is on him. Okay. So now the Gemara says ish. You know what it means, man. Matam elomer ish. What does it mean, man? The rabbis, it comes to include a bas, a daughter, a bat, and then it comes to include a tumtum. What is a tumtum? A tumtum is a person who has genitalia, but his genitalia is covered by an extra skin within the body. Right, note 17. So you don't know if he is male or female. What's androgonous? Androgynous is a person who has both genitalia. So he has male and female genitalia. It's a reproductive defect, right? It's mutation. And if this person curses, maybe you would say he's not male, so maybe he doesn't get chayav skila. So therefore it says, ish, to tell you all types of people, not just a male. Now, asher yikla David imo, it says in the pasuk, who curses his father and his mother, you only know if he actually curses both his father and his mother. Sheikla is aviv es imoy. Aviv shelo imoy, imoy shelo aviv minai. How do I know if he just cursed his father or he just cursed his mother? How do you know he gets skila too? Tamil Lemer Aviv Imo Kilel. Aviv Kilo Imo Kilel. Aviv Imo Kilel Dama Boy. Aviv Kilo Imo Kilel. Okay, let's explain this on the outside. Go back to that pasuk in note 15, and he says, "Look, it says as follows. Look at the pasuk slowly. Ki ish ish asher yikalel es aviv. Person who curses his father. It says curse, and then it says father. Look further. Mod yumat aviv imoy kilel, and then it says father, mother. He cursed. It says the word curse next to mother this time. So says the Gemara. Rabbi, this is Rabbi Yoshia. He says because it says cursed father, and then it says mother's cursed. It says cursed by each one to tell us each one cursed below. Aviv kilo, imoy kilo. Each one has a curse by it, and each one gets skila, even if you didn't curse the both of them. Rabbi Yonatan Omar, Rabbi Yonatan says, how do I know? Masha shnein ke'echad, or masha echad pnei atzmo, ad sheyiprot l'cha akodu yachdav. No, even though it says aviv imoy, it means one and one. It means each one separately. How do I know this? Because when it comes to, take a look at note 22. When it comes to putting an ox and a donkey to work together, the Torah says you can't do it. Lo tacharosh b'shor uchamor yachdav. It says don't plow with a donkey and an ox, and it says yachdav together. Why is it saying the word yachdav? Just say don't plow with an ox and a donkey. Oh, until it says yachdav, I don't know what it means together. So if you want to say that the kid will only get the person will only get punished if he cursed both of them, then it should have said the word yachdav. Then I would know it means you have to curse both of them in order to get skila. But the fact it doesn't say the word yachdav, it means each one separately. Mot yumat b'skila. It means with skila, with stoning. At amar b'skila, you say b'skila. Or eino el b'achaz mikol mitos amors b'Torah. But perhaps it means any other mita, maybe sreifah, maybe hereg, maybe chenik. How do I know it must be skila? So Nemer Khan, it says over here, Damav Bo, his blood is upon him. But Nemer Lo Halon, and it says Damav Bo, right? And it says elsewhere by the Over Yadone, Demehem Bum, their blood is upon them. So same lashon. Malahalom skila, just like Over Yaduni. It's with skila of kabiskila. So to here, by a cursing a parent, it's also through stoning. Ona Shamanu. So we have the punishment. As haraminayim, where's the warning? Remember, because you can't punish them unless you have two psukim. One pasuk that says the warning, don't do this in, and the second pasuk that says this is the punishment you get. So we have the punishment. The dam of bo is the main bomb. It's skila. But as haraminayim, Tamil Loimer Elohim lo tikalel. Don't curse the judge. Okay. Let's take a look at the full pasuk of Elohim lo tikalel. It is in note 29. Elohim lo tikalel v'nasiv amicha lo ta'or. It's a pasuk in Mishpatim that says, "Don't curse Elohim." Who exactly is Elohim? Bimachlokas doesn't mean God. Doesn't mean judges. Right now, we're going to say it means judge. Elohim lo tikalel. Don't curse a judge. V'nasiv amicha lo ta'or, and don't curse the prince. Right? Don't curse the president. So now, im haya aviv dayin. If your father was a judge, that means don't curse God. Don't curse a judge. Okay, because your father's a judge. If your father was a leader, don't curse the leader. Okay. If your father is not a judge or a leader, how do we know you're not allowed to curse him? So, we're going to do what's called a binyan av. We're going to build up from both of them. Okay. In binyan av, one of the 13 ways that we say we can learn the Torah. And what it does, it looks at a tzal hashava shebehen. One of the two common characteristics. If the common characteristic for these two is one item, then we say everything that's like it is included. So let's take a look. Amarta rei atadam binyan umshnein loy rei nasi karei dayim v'loy rei dayim karei nasi. There are differences between a judge and differences between a leader. Loirei dayin keri nasi. A judge is not like a leader. Sherei dayin atamatsuval horosto. If a judge says an halacha, you have to listen to the judge's halacha. He's a dayin. Keri nasi. But if a prince, a leader, tells you in halacha, you don't have to necessarily listen to him. Maybe he doesn't know. He's not a halachic authority, right? The dayan is an halachic authority. Not like nasi dayan, and a leader is not like a judge. So, because on a leader, you're told in the Torah, you're not allowed to rebel against him. But there's no command not to rebel against a judge. Each one is different. For a judge, you can rebel, but you have to listen to his halacha. And for the prince, you don't have to listen to his halacha, but you can't rebel. So what's Hatzal Shavashen? What is equal between them? Because they're both part of your nation. And therefore you're not allowed to curse them. So therefore your father also, he's in your nation, and therefore you're not allowed to curse him. That's how we learn it. It says don't curse a judge, don't curse a leader, and the common characteristic of both of them is that they're part of your nation, and therefore it includes your father. The Gemara says, what? There's a different Tasha. There's another common characteristic. Shekain, Gedulaston, Garmalahain, because both of them are occupying a position of status. That's why you can't curse them, because they're people with status. Talmud Lemer like take so now Gemara says Talmud Lemer like take cherish. There's another pasuk. There's a pasuk that says in Vayikra, you're not allowed to curse a deaf person. He doesn't have status. Talking about one of the humblest people in your nation, people on the low rung of the society. Ma le cherish, just like for a deaf person. His deafness causes him to be protected from cursing because he's in a low society. We say don't curse him. A leader and a judge will prove the otherwise. They're on the top side of society. But we see the cherish is even on the low side. The chazer adin, it goes back and forth. So it's not because of their status. It's not because of their high status. Not because of their low status. Rather, loy rei zekerezeh, loy rei zekerezeh. The only reason why you can't curse the deaf person, and you can't curse the leader or the judge, is because they're part of your nation. So I bring your father also, who's part of the nation, and therefore you're not allowed to curse them. The Gemara says, 1 second. By the way, this is the way we learn. You're not allowed to curse anyone based on these psugim. But Gemara continues. What are you guys talking about? There is another common characteristic between judge, leader, and a deaf person. Shikain Mishpanin, because they're different than most other people. They're not like your average Joe. The average Joe is not deaf. The average Joe is not a leader, and the average Joe is not a judge. So these three people have another common characteristic that they're not average. They're either low average, below average, but above average, but they're not average. That is their common characteristics. Where it says, Elam, im kein nichtav kram. If so, let the pasuk say, O Elohim v'cheresh, O Nasi v'cheresh. Elohim lamali, men linyan gufo, teneu inyan lo'aviv. Gemara says, if you want to tell me they're mishunin, that they're very different, and that's why you can't curse them, then in order to do that, you only needed to say judge or leader, not both. Because you'd have the judge and the deaf person, so you know the two extremes, below and above average. If you have the leader and the poor person, again, you have the two sides of the average, the high side and the low side, and you wouldn't be able to curse anyone. So why does it say the word Elohim? Him is to tell me, Elohim cannot be used because I already know leaders because they're mishunin. So we use it for the father. You're not allowed to curse the father. And if a person curses his father, he gets chayav skila. That's the hazhara. That is the warning. Gemara says, "Hanicha." This is all good. Laman da'amer Elohim chol. Who says, according to the opinion that says, when it says Elohim loy tikalel, it means judge. Elman da'amer kodesh. But the one who says that it means Hashem, Elohim means Hashem in this pasuk. Ma'ikla meimar. So what are you going to do? You don't have another word that teaches us a regular leader, another person on the other side of the average, so it means father, but you don't have it because Elohim means actual God. The Tanya Elohim Chol, the Rishmal says it's Chol. Rikiu Omer Elohim Kadesh. The Tanya Eliezer ben Yaakov Omer How do you know you're not allowed to be Megad if you're not allowed to curse Hashem? Because Tamalim Elohim loy tekalel. So what are you going to do? Elohim can mean God, not a judge. So you cannot. It's not extra that you can use it for the Indian of cursing your father. So Lamanda Amr Elohim Chol, according to the opinion that says Elohim is Chol, Gamar Kodesh Chol. You can learn holy from Chol and say that just like you're not allowed to curse the judge, you're definitely not allowed to curse God. Gamar Kodesh Chol. Lamanda Elohim Kodesh, according to when it says it means Elohim lo tekalel, don't curse God. Gemir Chol Mikodesh will learn the judge from God. Gemara says, what? If you want to say Elohim means judge, and you want to learn from judge up to God, okay, judge is special, and God's even more special. So of course, you can't curse them. But according to what it says, the word Elohim means holy, means God. You can't learn a judge from God. Perhaps the Torah said, yeah, forbidden to curse God, and that was the warning. It doesn't say you're not allowed to curse a judge. The Gemara says, if that's true, that Elohim there means don't curse God, but you can curse the judge, Im Kain, lichtov kra loy takel. You shall not curse with one lamed. And that will tell me what? Don't curse God. But the fact that it says, my lo tikalel. What does it say with two lamins? Don't curse. Shma mino tarte. We learn two from this. That it can be both the name of Hashem and cursing a judge. And therefore, if it means cursing a judge, that means you have an extra one. And therefore, it can be used to teach us about Aviv, that your father, you're also not allowed to curse. And if you did, is chayav skila. And that's the azharam. Okay? Fine. Any questions at this point? All right. So as Hashem will continue next week. Yasher koach. Tודה רבה.